The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Welcome to the newest episode of Work the Left Side. Although this week it is being called Work the Left and Right Side, in respect for my guest. So it is the Belgian Bull. We basically talk about getting started in Belgium, working in France, working in Germany, the time spent in Canada. Some awesome stories from there, being on the road with Karrion Kross, and obviously talking about time in the UK, working with Doug Williams, Frankie Sloan, Johnny Storm. This guy has been around and he knows his shit, so the dude's got some things to say. Hopefully enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment, give us a thumb up, like and obviously share the video. Let's try and help to grow the YouTube community a bit. So that's it really. Obviously enjoy. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Okay, bye bye. Welcome to Work the Left Side. This is episode 19, and this week I am joined by the awesomeness that is the Belgian Bull, Mr. Robin. I'm going to mispronounce your surname, so I know I am. I apologise, but Lekime.
Nope, it's Lekime.
Lekime, that's it. So I had that in bloody head as well. I'll just call you Mr. Bull. There we go. So, how are we doing, sir? You all right anyway?
Yeah, there's no Mr. no Sir here. Just call me Bull or Robin, whatever you want.
There we go. That'll do. So, how you keeping anyway, man? You doing all right at the minute? It's been an absolute torture today.
I'm doing good. Wrestling started 2 weeks ago, so I'm back at it. Cleared the mind up. Gyms are open, so I'm feeling back to normal now.
Yes. Well, that's it. I think we're kind of getting to the end of the global bastard, and it's kind of, we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel now. So, like you say, shows are back on in some areas, which is great. I think that's what all of us want. We want the shows back up and running. We want to be able to go and cheer the good guys and boo the bad guys, but be safe as well, kind of thing. Obviously, everything in, reporting. So, obviously, dude, anybody who knows you, you're a well-travelled guy. So obviously doing the research before this, obviously starting off in Belgium, you working in France, like All Stars and things like that. I was looking through your matches. I know you said on Kurt's show cage matches probably only got 500 or so, but you wrestled over 3,000 matches.
No, I was just over 2,000, I think, not 3,000. 2,000 definitely.
Yeah. See, that is just so it's probably more of a case of who you haven't been in the ring with than who you have been in the ring with. It must be a small number of people that you haven't crossed paths at this point.
Well, it depends. A lot of the matches that are not on cage match were part of Wrestling Stars in France, which is totally kayfabe. They don't make anything public. And then the other ones were the camps here in the UK that I've done for X amount of years, which is a lot of times you're wrestling the same guys for a whole week or even a whole summer run or something. So even though you have all these matches, it could sometimes be against the same opponent for a while.
Yeah.
Like in France, we used to do the loop. If I got partnered up with an opponent, we were doing that for, let's say, in between 6 weeks to 6 months. That could be all over the country. So there's a lot of people I wrestled many, many times. And there's people that were one-offs, so it all kind of depends.
Yeah, well, that's it, I suppose. Yeah, you've got your regular dance partners, and then you've got the people who come in, and you do like your exhibition matches with and things. So obviously, the long-term guys will be the storyline-driven matches, the storyline-driven things, and the one-offs.
Not always, not always, because like I say, on the camps, it's usually just traveling from one camp to the other.
Yeah, sorry.
It's always the same. And because in the company in France, because everything is kayfabe, you can wrestle a guy in Paris and then go all the way to Lyon. Those people don't see what happened in Paris. You can do exactly the same match, basically. So that's just why it works over there.
That's cool. Because, well, like you mentioned, the kayfabe element. That's got to be, how long ago were we talking with that? Was it like 10, 15 years ago, or?
I was there. Let me think. 2008 until 2011.
Oh, right, about 13 years ago.
He's still running, and he still has the same ideas. You know, they don't make anything public, and that's how they stay successful.
That's
so
awesome.
It still works.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Does,
Hi, mate. Go on.
Yeah. So what he does is he goes to smaller towns where there's the whole year there's nothing to do, and he gets hired by those towns to put on an event, like by the local football club or the local rugby club or the local fire department that wants to get money in to get their sponsorship and everything. And that's when wrestling is being asked to do an event. So when there's nothing going on for a whole year, when there's an event, everybody goes there. So we always have packed houses and everything. It's always very cool over there.
Yeah, I remember on the again to reference Kurt's show, you sort of saying it could be anything from like 800 people in there to like a few, like 4,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're doing something right, because you don't pull those kind of numbers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The promoter is smart too, because he never had to invest his own money. He just sold a contract, and depending on what kind of event you wanted, was a certain contract. And I've seen some of the prices; they could go really up there, where we were like, "Holy, who pays this?" You know. But it's kind of what WWE does with, let's say, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They've been given money, and they says we want those wrestlers, and we want those matches, and they go over there and do that. It's the same thing in France, just on a smaller scale.
That's awesome. But obviously, you guys get treated like stars. You know, this is probably, was it the first promotion where you was able to just make a living out of it? Basically, you worked for them, and that was it, kind of thing. But you had constant work.
Yeah, that was it. Once you got in with him, and he saw that you were reliable and everything, he used you every week, multiple times a week. He sometimes had two crews running on one day, so one part could be in the north, the other part could be in the south. The next day we would meet in Paris, switch some guys around, go other ways. Yeah, we did that for 3 years full time, and I didn't have to work. I made really good money there.
That's awesome. Because obviously, I get based on the research that I've done and stuff. Not only are you a wrestler, but you're a wrestling enthusiast. You got into wrestling because you love wrestling. It wasn't you got into it by default. You did something else and you got injured and you ended up in it. You wanted to be a wrestler. That's you. Yeah, you got an enthusiasm for it. So that must have been heaven for you, man. Working like 3 or 4 years just wrestling every day. Pow pow pow.
Well, I've done it for longer, because like since 2008 until basically when I came to the UK around 2016, 17, I didn't have a day job. I just wrestled. So when I stopped with Wrestling Stars, I just contacted Brian Dixon and I started with All Star Wrestling. So, and I got so much work for Brian that I was doing that full time, and in between stuff in Europe and everything, and going to Japan and all that. So I was keeping busy all the time.
That's awesome. So I mean, what's the French scene like? Because obviously, people know you've got. For me, you've got kind of 4 key areas. You've obviously got the American scene, the Japanese scene. Obviously, here in the UK, you've got the UK scene. And I'm a bit of a wrestling nerd. I like to read autobiographies, and Germany always comes up. So I'm going to touch on that later. But yeah, Germany for me is like the 4th country that's quite big for me for wrestling. What's it like in France? Do they have their own style? Is it very much just a European style, or
it's the old European style, basically? Yeah. They still work with the cards, with the yellow card and the red card. So you get like 3 yellow cards, and that's a red card, like with football, basically. They in France, the older guys still work on the right side instead of the left side. So I'm lucky I can work both sides, because I learned on the right side first, and then had to change everything and started to learn on the left side. So I know both ways. And it's different. Like there's no punching or anything. There's more like, it's more European uppercuts, forearms, that kind of stuff. It's very, very solid. It's just hard hitting. They like a match to move, so they don't like the technical wrestling too much. Because that's, for them, there's no action in technical wrestling. It has to go bang, 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 bang. So I'm not saying it's got to be Ring of Honor style or cruiserweight style or anything. I mean, but the heavyweights, it's like an old NWA match, let's say Midnight Express against the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
It was action. There was no rest in there, but it moved. It was flowing. There was just basic moves, but it was flowing. There was no stopping there. And a lot of it is also working the crowd, getting the crowd involved, getting the crowd as hot as possible. That's how it was in France.
That's awesome. So obviously, it's still, psychology is very key, but it's you keep it flowing. You're telling a story with no breaks. Basically, it's just like start, middle, end. That's your match. Everybody goes home happy.
Yeah. It's the thing is that people got so involved in France that it was a country where you could still have riots, where you can get attacked when you went back to the ring and back to the dressing room and all that. So that happened many times. I had a few guys try and jump the ring. One of them I kicked in the face the moment he stuck his head through the ring. So that's just over there, and that's the fun part. Then you know you're doing something right.
Definitely, because again, kayfabe, if they're doing everything they can do to keep that, the magic, basically, as I would call it, they're keeping that kayfabe, they're keeping that magic. The fans are going into these shows, and it's legitimate hatred for the heels, which it should be like you say. People are going to jump barriers, people are going to throw things at you, people are going to be 100% emotional, which is awesome to me. That's kind of like, that's what's missing now, kind of thing for me. You kind of, pros and cons. I like knowing stuff, but by knowing stuff, I've kind of ruined it for myself as well, kind of thing. And I think a lot of fans have. So if there's a company out there that's managing, to do the whole kayfabe thing, more power to them. That's amazing. I'm gonna sort of see, because I can't imagine the electricity. It must be hot when you get in there, man.
Yeah, we had some really wild times, and I was the heel always, and we had Laurie actually when she started as my manager. It was just, there was times where I had to protect her and go like, come in the ring now because it's getting too hot around the ring, and stuff like that. And we really got a lot of heat.
That's like 80s Savage and Sherry or something.
Yeah, well, that's when we started for Brian Dixon. He actually wrote that on his website. He compared us to Macho Man and Sherry, and and this was what I took as a great honor, was Finlay and Princess Paula. So he took us to that, because we had an incident in Ipswich too, which got police involved and everything. So we got quite a bit of heat.
That's awesome. But yeah, I like stuff like that, because it reminds me that it's still real to some people, kind of thing. And it's just like, that's because I watch a lot of old pay-per-views for the show and stuff. And I've noticed, like, when you go back and watch, like, the shows from the 80s and things, it's just like I say, the magic, the intensity, the look in people's eyes, man. They're just absolutely thrown into this world, and they're buying into it and they're loving it. I think that's amazing. What was it like in Germany then? Because like I say, a lot of guys like Chris Jericho, Mick Foley, to name two, have really sing the praises of working in Germany. They kind of said it was like it was a rite of passage.
Well, they did what they called sort of like a carnival. So they wrestle in a tent on one location for X amount of weeks or even months, like Finlay used to do, and William Regal and all those guys. I never got to do that anymore, because that was finished by the time I started. I only did one 10-day tournament, and because there was no money left and there was no crowds, I went home after the third day because there was no money coming in, so it wasn't worth saying then. So they all had that. So when I started, Germany became more like where the smart marks were, and more the Americanized style. Also the underground style where Dub X Dub started in a little nightclub. First they were more like a hardcore federation. They now grow to something a lot bigger and have their own identity now. They have a good name. They had a good name back then, but it was more like for the diehard, let's say ECW fans and everything like that. It was more that thing, you know. We all had fun. We could all do what we wanted. Promoter just go, yeah, just go out there, have fun, you know, do whatever you want, show what you can. It's where the first time I've met a lot of guys like Johnny Storm and Doug Williams and all those guys. They went over there quite a lot. And then there were other companies in Germany, a few little ones, and they were running. There was one where called the Deutsche Wrestling Alliance. It was more up in Bremen. They were running a few shows a year, which was always fun. They had a partnership with Harley Davidson. So they did a Harley night every year, which was just tons of fun. They had guys like PCO on there, Tatanka, PN News and everything. So Germany was fun. If you find the right place to work, it could be really fun. Yeah.
That's cool.
But unfortunately, yeah, I couldn't do the tournaments, unfortunately. I was too late.
I didn't know about that, so apologies for that one. Because yeah, I kind of thought that was that's the mental image I had for wrestling in Germany. Besides, obviously, Dub X Dub, because I know they've kind of built themselves up, you know, as like the standard promotion, really. So, well, backtrack a little bit, obviously, regarding just getting into the business then. So, was it something? I remember again watching Kurt's show before this. Hearing the story about how you phoned somebody up to put you in contact with a wrestler because you wanted to go, you know, you wanted to learn. Yeah. What was it that made you want to be a wrestler? Though? Was it? Did you watch on TV? Was it something? You know, what was the inspiration?
March 1990. On a Sunday afternoon, I was sitting in my room. I think I was reading something, a comic or whatever. Got called down by my dad. He was like, "All right, come and watch this." And I come down and I see his ring. And I'm like, "Dad, I don't like boxing." I never knew anything about wrestling. And he was like, "This is not boxing, just watch." And I saw somebody stand in the ring, a ripped white t-shirt, ripped jeans with a cigar, Brooklyn Brawler. And all of a sudden, this music hits and out comes Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior. And he destroys the Brooklyn Brawler without even taking the belt off in seconds. And immediately I was like, what is this? Wow, what is this? I mean, I want to do this. What is this? And my dad started explaining what it was. And then I saw Demolition as a tag team against two job guys. And I was like, this is cool. And is this on every week? And my dad was like, yeah, it's on every Sunday. I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch again next week. And I was hooked. Immediately I was like, this is what I want to do. Like before that, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was thinking about maybe the army or something. I always was fascinated with costumes and uniforms and stuff. So I was thinking the army or the police, something like that, you know. The moment I saw wrestling, I was like, that's what I want to do. Nothing else mattered anymore. I was obsessed. My whole family tried to talk me out of it. I had support from one uncle and my grandmother. They supported me. But all the rest, they just tried to talk it out of my head. And I just, in school, no matter the grades, no matter what it was wrestling. My folders where all the notes were in, there were wrestling signs on it everywhere, names of wrestlers everywhere. I was obsessed. I just wanted to become a wrestler.
That's quality. So, well, you mentioned Warrior there, obviously being the first name that, you know, besides the Brooklyn Brawler. Obviously the guy was, you know, I'm trying to think of the word. The guy, he's infamous for that larger than life character. You know, that burst to the ring, just the shaking of the ropes. You know, probably gassing himself up. You know, before the matches even started. But yeah, to a kid, I remember. Certainly as I've got older, my taste has changed more to like, the
Oh
technical
yeah.
side. Yeah, I was the same as you, man. When I was a kid, Warrior was absolutely amazing. Anything he was on, I was buying it. I was buying T-shirts, buying posters. The guy was just. Besides Warrior, was there anybody else that on a Sunday afternoon that you sort of watched and sort of thought, but if I'm going to do this, that's who I want to be. That's who I want to be like.
Um, Tag team wise, I liked Demolition and the Heart Foundation. I enjoyed matches with the Rockers because they were constantly moving. They were exciting. And everybody was just colorful. So I didn't really pick one person out that I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
I just liked the guys that were at the face paint, the colorful, the tassels, everything that had to do with that. So yeah, those were the guys I went up to. And then I found magazines in Luxembourg actually on a day trip with my parents. And then I learned about the NWA. So like, oh, there's not just one company, there's many companies. And then I saw the Road Warriors, the Steiners, Flair, Luger, Sting, all those guys. I never saw them in action, but I read about them, so I knew about them. So after a while, after like 2-3 years, I kind of to see who the workers were, like Tati Biasi, Ravishing Recruit, Rick Martel. I always liked the model Rick Martel. I liked it.
Yeah.
When he had this purple outfit, when he had the feud with Jake, I love that style.
The blindfold match.
The blindfold. Yeah, I liked it. I loved it. And then, yeah, the Steiners really got my attention too because they were just animals. They could throw everybody around. Like, it was completely different than the WWF. Once I saw the Steiners, I was like, these guys are cool. And since then, I've always been a Steiner fan. So my style is kind of like to watch them. And then a little bit later, I got to know ECW. And then I started following that, and I like Taz, Shane Douglas, those two guys I really liked a lot for different reasons. So that's kind of my thing. Chris Benoit was one of the guys I looked up to too. So anything that had to do with suplex, basically now.
And obviously Kurt Angle and such kind of thing. But I was never a big. I think Shane Douglas is one of those guys that splits the rest
I
of the
forgot
community.
about Kurt Angle.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I was a massive ECW fan back in the day, and I don't know if I just didn't like him because I wasn't meant to like him. But yeah, it never quite sat right with me. But Taz, all those other guys, absolutely awesome. They were just like I said, they were next level. They were solid workers, and you can kind of see, obviously, the inspiration and the snugness of some of the work. I would say. You mentioned the Heart Foundations. You've been to Canada. That, to me, that's like the holy grail of wrestling. If you can make it in Canada, if you can work in Canada, surely that means you're up here somewhere. How did you find it over there? Is it that intense? I always imagine the Canadians after ice hockey, wrestling is like their go-to.
Yeah. They got some good places, some hot crowds here and there. Canada seems to be a little bit the forgotten place to go. Like, it's like a little secret over up in the north. People know it's there, but they always seem to forget it. Like, there's so many stuff going on there. It's crazy. Like the tours that we're doing. I forgot to mention this on Kurt's podcast. I've been part of an ice road tour, or the death tour, how they call it. So yeah, I've done one of those, which is really hard. But I'll do it again. It was cool. It was really good money.
I'm not surprised. It's like dangerous as.
It was interesting. It's like you drive over the frozen lakes and everything, which is cool. But the lakes can carry a lot of weight because I saw 3 18-wheelers standing next to each other on a lake, so it could carry some weight. So that was quite safe. But the trips were tough. They were tough. So the last time I was in Canada, I did 30 days on the death tour. Then I went to Winnipeg for 5 days off. I did a weekend in the States, and then I did another 35 days for Danny Duggan's CWE, and then I went home. And when I landed, the next day I went to the UK. So I did quite a lot that time.
What's this? style. I know I'm trying to touch on styles here from around the world, kind of thing. But the Canadians, I would imagine them obviously because you think Canada, you think Bret Hart, you think Chris Benoit, Owen Hart, Brian Pillman. You think these technically sound, gifted athletes. I'd imagine like the whole scene. Is it all very sort of technically sound, or is it quite diverse, or do they have a Canadian style?
There's different companies running, of course, and every company has its own favorites that they book, and they have their own style that way. But Danny uses all kinds of people. He's got everything from flyers to heavyweights. But he always says that the heavyweights usually sell the tickets. They usually attract the best crowds. It's solid work. The Canadians, they love their chops. They love them. It's solid work. It's crowd work. It's kind of a little bit like the old style, like just get the crowd as hot as possible, get a good match out, that kind of stuff. Depending on what the crowd reacts to, you just play to the crowd. He's usually has really good names on the tours. Like when I was there twice, we had the Ring of Honor guys on there. We had Psychosis on there. The tour with Huvie I couldn't go on because of stupid certain reasons here in the UK. Excuse me. But yeah, it's just a really cool place to do, and it's wrestling every day for 35 days or 40 days straight. You don't have a rest day. You don't stop. So you start off, you go to the gym, you go get your food, you go wrestle, you go party, drive to the next town, or that's it. And you do it all over again just for the whole month or even longer. And that's the fun part about it. It's like the old days, just on the road.
Well, I was going to say then, obviously, yeah, you're traveling between shows, you're on the road, you're in the car. I know you touched on this, in another sort of show, but as you sort of said, then it was like, as the saying goes, you learn more in the car than you do in the ring.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Sharing stories. I mean, so around Canada, who was you driving with?
I either drove with, in the beginning, the first tour, I drove a lot with Danny. So he could get to know me. Well, he'd get to know me, and I wrestled him most of the time also. On the second tour, one of the guys was like, look, here are the keys to my car. Just take my car, and I'll see you in a month. He just let me use his car. So I had Psychosis with me. I traveled a lot. Most of the tour, I traveled with Psychosis that time. The Ring of Honor guys, I got really close with, Vincent and TK Orion. And when he was with us, Karrion Kross, he's a really cool dude to have on in the car. So that was for about 10 days. It was a really cool click, all five of us together.
That's cool, because he does seem to be like one of the guys that sort of going over to the social media side of things. Kross seems very interactive with the fans. You always kind of see him liking or retweeting. I mean, I do a lot of artwork. I've done quite a few Kross pieces of artwork. But if I put it on Twitter and I mention him in it, it generally always gets an acknowledgement or a comment or a retweet or something. And it's very rare, like guys at the top of the game are that interactive. Yeah. So he struck me as a very cool guy.
Yeah, he is. The thing is also he's a genius. The guy's a genius. Him and Vincent, when you have those two in the car with you, they can come up with so many ideas for themselves and for others that you just go like, those two, just put them in a room, let them write storylines, and you'll have great TV. Because they see a house on the side of the road, and they go, all right, pull over here, we can take some pictures and do this, this, and this. And it just pops in their mind. And that's the cool thing about it. You just see their minds working while you travel with them. Those two, it's unbelievable. The stuff they can come up with, it's really cool. So yeah, I love traveling with them. Then on the other side, you have guys like AJ Sanchez, who's a heavyweight, and he's really heavy set, but he can do moonsault with ease and all that stuff. He's like the next best big man in wrestling, basically, because he can move with ease. Everything just comes easy to him. He's one of the best workers in Canada. He's great to travel with because he's just fun. He don't give it. He's just laid back. He doesn't care. He just lays back. Wants to have fun. Wants to do his wrestling. Wants to have his drinks. And he's a cool dude. Who else is there? So many guys. Just, all the Canadians just so cool. I
Yeah,
just love it over there. I just love it over
uh,
there.
that's cool because like, I'll stop. Yeah, you know, when you build something up in your head, I always kind of thought, you know, I've always wanted to go to Canada at some point. I've always kind of wanted. It's one of the countries I've always wanted to go to. Yeah, I'd love to go to some like wrestling shows over there just to get the atmosphere and stuff. But I've always thought if I ever went over there, have I hyped it up in my head too much? You know, is it just going to be shit kind of thing? It's just like so. Sounds of it. I would still be happy if I ever do make it over there. So it does sound like a very
Well,
cool destination.
the thing is, it's hard work also. A lot of guys think, oh, I'm going to go to Canada, I'm going to make all this money, and they're going to have huge crowds. There were times when we had 5 to 6 people in the crowd, and we work off the gate. So
Wow.
that's a time where you just had the money in the envelope that was just enough to get your meals paid. But then you had crowds where there were 400-500 people a few days in a row. Of course, then you make really good money. So that's something a lot of guys have to keep in mind. Is you can't go there and go like, oh, I want X amount of money. You know, it don't work that way with Danny. Danny just goes, he tells like it is. We work off the gate, and every merch sale you do, that's yours. He said, I don't want to cut from that. And if you get over, you'll make money. If you're not, sorry, you know. So
Yeah, fair play.
I was quite lucky. I caught on quite well over there on the first tour. I think it was my first weekend. It was when Brutus Beefcake was with us. They saw me working Danny, and because of the look I had and the singlet and everything, the fans just started chanting Ivan Koloff to me. So I took it as a badge of honor. I was like, hell yeah, I'll work like Ivan Koloff, you know. I'll be the
Yeah.
bastard here. And it worked. It's
Well,
just I got over it.
like you say, it is a compliment because you know, it's an established name. It
Yep.
was one of the top heels at one point, kind of thing, and he's just one of those guys that, yeah, if they want to see you in that light, yeah, bring it on. You know, boo me like you would boo Ivan, kind of thing. I'll take that any day of the week. But yeah, is that common then? Because or does it depend on the country or the promotion? Because I've heard about people getting paid, you know, from the gate, and then there's other times when there's a set fee. Is the promoter very upfront with you about it from the get go? Does he say I'll pay you percentage, or do they ask you what your fee is?
Usually people ask what the fee is, or you give them the fee and this and that, and sometimes they negotiate. Some of them go like, "Yeah, that's cool," but with Danny, it's just off the gate. And personally, I appreciate it because it makes you want to work harder.
Yeah,
Plus, you also want to promote the company more. Like too many guys, and I've noticed this mostly in the UK, not so much in Europe. But too many guys have a certain fee. They walk in and they go like, I don't feel like it today. Let's just get in and out there, and that's it. And then for me, you're scamming the fans and you're scamming the promoter that just paid you good money.
yeah,
So I've never been one of those guys. If I got my fee, and I'm more than willing to work 5 minutes if you want me to work 5 minutes, but I'm more than willing to work 30 minutes if you want me to give me 30 minutes. So that's how I am. But many times I had guys come up to me like, oh, this is only a small time promoter. I'm not going to do much. No, the guy paid you. Just go in, do your work, do your job. You know, you're supposed to be this big shot name that comes in. Just work for it, you know.
yeah. It's like they're only willing to take bumps if there's at least 200 people there or something.
Or
That kind
there's
of logic.
yeah, or they're against the name or something like that, and then they put the effort in. Like I've seen that many times, and that's also something it shouldn't be done. Like I work with, like I got the last 2 weeks now. I've been with ASWA, which used to be Slam Wrestling up in Cannock, and I've worked with everybody there, from students who I had squash matches with, to the owner, to in between. And I work with everybody the same way. I just go in there and I bust my ass because the guy takes care of me, you know, and that's how it should be.
But
If
yeah,
you have pride in your work, you know.
it's called being professional. Like I say, you're
Yeah,
getting paid to do a job. You do the job to the best of your abilities, kind of thing. So, well, that's how you think it should be. Because then those students could be like a really big name in 3 or 4 years' time.
yeah,
If you've done your job, if the next man does his job, kind of thing, you're helping build the future of wrestling.
yeah, exactly. And it's. I think I have this mindset because the first time I ever walked up to a promoter or a wrestler in Belgium, and I was like, I want to become a wrestler. He immediately was like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I've broken this, I've broken that, I've done this and done that. It's shit, you know. There's no money in it. I'm like, you're still doing it, so why is it no good if you're still doing it? I know in the end it was just protecting their spot because they didn't want a young guy to come in.
Yeah.
I see it that way, but that always made me think like, I'm going to go in there and I love this thing. I'm just going to do what the promoter wants me to do. And that's it, you know. If they want me to do 5 minutes, I'll do 5 minutes. They want me to do 30 minutes, I'll do 30 minutes. No problem. And in Canada, Danny knows that.
Sorry, do go on. In Canada?
Well, yeah, in Canada, Danny knows that. Like a few shows ran very short. He was like, Robin, you mind putting in some time? I'm like, no, hell no. Put in some time. One night I wrestled 3 times because 2 guys didn't show up. So we came up with a little tournament. I wrestled 3 times. I didn't care. I was in there 3 times, pissing the people off 3 times a night.
That's quality, but it goes back to the enthusiasm that I mentioned at the start. Obviously, you're a wrestling enthusiast, not just a wrestler. So you want to go out there, you want to do. It seems like so. Obviously, when you sort of say about these people who do, want to get in and want to get out again, kind of thing, it's becoming a chore to them. They've lost that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I've noticed that, and like I said, predominantly here in the UK, and not so much in Europe or anything. There, everybody, like when I worked in France for that big company, everybody was always excited to get in the ring. No matter how long that we've been doing it, they were always excited to get in the ring. Here in the UK, with a lot of people, it became more of a chore to them, which I was surprised because the UK has such a good name as wrestling in a whole. But yeah, there was quite a few prima donnas on the circuit. I'm not going to name any names, but
no, it's fine. Do you think that's because I'd say for the last 10 years, the British scene has blown up quite a lot. It's become very prolific kind of thing. Wrestling has become huge again in the UK. So maybe just that some people are just getting a station above themselves kind of thing. They think they're potentially, bigger than they are, or the bigger stars than they are and stuff like that. Whereas, in France or somewhere like that, they're still really humble and enthusiastic about it. They're grateful to be able to go out there and do what they want to do or what they love.
It's that's the weird part. Like working in France as a wrestler, you get treated like a star, so you don't act like one basically because you already get treated like one. Here, it's like they had to act like one to basically become one, and it was like the other way around because here the promoters were like, yeah, you're not a star, you're just one of the boys, just there's your wage, it's like every other boy, just do your stuff, and I think it's something to do with that. I don't know. A lot of them got spoiled because they got over with certain internet darlings, and they got spoiled because they got all the bookings they wanted, but then they got away by doing stuff like that. I never agreed with that.
Yeah, it's interesting, though. Like you say, it's just it's people's mindsets and sort of just when it starts to become a chore for some people, you got to think like you're not long left for this business. If it starts to become a chore for you, I would imagine. Also, not talking from experience, but it's the love and the passion that helps you get through it, kind of thing. You wake up in the morning and you're sore and you're aching. You're like, yeah, but I still love this shit. It's what I mean. It's like if you've lost that, you can't be long left for the business. I want to thought.
Well, yeah, you would think so because I've seen many people come and go over the years, and a lot of them they were like, oh, this is the next big thing, and this is the next big thing, and this is the next big thing, and in Germany, in France, in England, and they only last 3 to 5 years, and then they're done because it doesn't go quick enough for them. I've seen it many times. And I'm just keep on going, and
steady away, man. That's what it is. And obviously, you're still kicking about. You're still getting paid. You're still, you've still got name value, and you still, people are putting you on matches and stuff. So you're obviously doing something right. So yeah, man, just keep doing you. You mentioned in Germany when we talk about Germany, Doug Williams. You wrestled Doug Williams over in Germany. If I remember correctly as well, one of your first matches in the UK, if not your first match in the UK, was against Doug Williams. That's correct.
Very first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that like? Because the dude's held quite high esteem. Doug's held.
Well, I knew. Yeah, I knew Doug already because I wrestled him in Germany. I've met him in Holland. We wrestled each other in Belgium. So I knew him. I knew of him and his style and everything. I had already booked him also in a tournament in Belgium when I was the booker for Flemish Wrestling Force. And then when I contacted John Fremantle from Premier Promotions back in the day, he basically asked around about me because Johnny Kidd had put in a good word for me. And he was like, right, I'm going to put you against Doug Williams because you seem to know him and it'll put you at ease and this and that. And Doug knew all the rules then. And because it came easy to work with Doug, and that way I could learn the British rules because John Fremantle was working with the round system and all that and the points and all that. So that was pretty cool. It was an easy introduction.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
other guys.
Sorry, dude, go.
Another guy who was a regular for Premier Promotions was Johnny Storm. Yeah. So it was also very, very easy to work with. So with him, I got quite a few matches. Then I had the summer camps with Johnny Storm a few years later. But that was easy. There was like a night off every night, basically. But you learn a lot. So that's a good thing.
Two very different styles as well, though. They're from Doug Williams to Johnny Storm. Obviously, you got the Wonder Kid, him and Jody Fleisch, kind of sort of set the UK scene on fire, like 10 plus years ago. Taking it to like the next level. They're the two of the top names for me that kind of became big names just before the British wrestling scene took off, kind of thing. We had like the Wrestling Channel over here years ago, and it always seemed to be adverts for those two guys. Those like pow pow pow. So yeah, I can imagine working with Johnny Storm would just been a really good learning experience, especially if he was new in the UK at the time. And same for Doug. Yeah. I'm guessing Doug was just working as the technical side and grappling, that kind of yeah.
Yeah, because Premier Promotions was known for that, for the old school British style, and which is I always wanted to learn. I always because I never got properly trained that way in the hold for holds kind of stuff, so I had to teach myself all that. So that's one of the main reasons why I really wanted to work in the UK. I wanted to know how good I could get in the technical side of wrestling, and I really focused on that. So Premier Promotions was like the cool place to work for me because you had guys. What was his name again? He was a referee. Steve Gray was there. Miles Sanders was there. He was also acting as a referee then. So you could pick up from those guys. Johnny Kidd was there. Who's the other guy? Can't remember now. But then you had guys come in like Mark Haskins and Joel Redmond, who kind of were in the beginning of their career. So they came in. So it was a cool mix. It was a small group, but it was a cool mix then. So we had some fun there.
That's the one where if you get hit by DDT, it's an automatic knockout. Is it? Was that the rule in there?
DDT, pile driver, those were knockout moves. Once you got hit with one of those, match was over. Yeah, which I liked. It was cool. It gives a certain it gives a certain realism to the matches. If you get dropped on your head, you're not going to get up.
Well, it's true because like how many times you see somebody get DDT'd? We got on the days of like Jake doing it, and that was it. You get the I can't remember. I used to remember what DDT stood for. I can't remember now because he explained it. But yeah, you got dropped on your head. That was it. Match over. A power driver by the King. Match over kind of thing. So yeah. It's interesting. Sort of. I definitely think there's a gap or there's something out there where I think you could tap into that again, kind of thing. Where if some promotions started doing that on a larger scale, I'd be very interested to sort of see how that took off.
Well, I'm using a pile driver as a finish. I guarantee you, nobody's getting up from that one. Nobody's kicking out from my pile driver.
Well, so I think it's yours and Rampage's. They seem to be like the two most, consistent, devastating. That's it. Yeah, he's done. Top of the head hits the mat. Yeah, that's it. Count him out. You can count to 30. Dude ain't getting up, kind of thing. Frankie Sloan as well was another name that I saw pop up when you came over to the UK.
Yeah, Frankie's cool. Frankie's a few weeks ago, I actually put on my Facebook. I call him the Yoda of British wrestling because he has these little things of wisdom that occasionally come out of him. When he says something, it's usually jokes and this and that, but sometimes he has his little pearls of wisdom, and he's like the Yoda of British wrestling. Frankie's cool. It's always
That's
cool to have him
awesome.
around.
Yeah, because he's obviously a name that gets sort of thrown around, like, even guys like Regal, big up Frankie kind of thing, sort of say like the dude's, next level. If you could just kind of like, he's got a brain for the business kind of thing. So obviously you're new in the country. You're working matches against Doug Williams. At this point, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be working in the UK? Have you got anything in mind, or was you just coming over?
I just wanted to get into All-Star Promotion. That was the top company to get into. Once, because I'd heard that in Germany and in Holland, and whenever somebody was booked from the UK, it was like, oh, he works for Brian Dixon. Brian Dixon was always the name you heard. But once you got in with Brian Dixon and you got regular work there, you were with the top of Europe, basically. So that was my goal. And I managed to do that for quite a long time. So that I basically attained my goal here in British wrestling. Nice. I did know about a lot of other companies, but Brian Dixon was always the one that got mentioned. And everybody was like, if you survive the camps, you're good.
Yeah, I've heard.
That was pretty cool. You learn some.
If you can do the holiday camps, that's your rite of passage kind of thing. If you can get through them, if you can survive it, you're good to go kind of thing,
Because while I was there, I've seen guys being sent home and everything. I've seen it happen. I'm not going to name any names, but I've seen it happen. Or guys that just went home, they couldn't hack it anymore, and I've seen it happen.
Was it like? Is it a sort of steady 6 week? Is it like 2 or 3 times a day over like a 6-week period, give or take?
Sometimes, like when we did the Butlers run, it was 6 days a week, with Mondays off. So Mondays you basically spend your day cleaning all your stuff and everything, and cleaning your gear and doing your laundry and your clothes and everything, because you were away from home for 6 weeks. On the run with Best of British Wrestling, that was 9 weeks. So it was even longer. So that was cool too. So, and occasionally you had double shots. If Brian had house shows in between, you went from the camp, you finished there, you went straight to the house show, you did it again, you went back to the other camps and make sure to get back on the loop. So it was a lot of travel, a lot of work, but that's what you do it for, that's the thing.
It's time on the road as well, though, isn't it? Like, it's more time to pick people's brains. It's more time to get knowledge, or just exchange ideas. Whose brains were you picking in the UK then when you was doing the holiday camps? Who was you driving with?
Back in the day when I started, it was mostly Frankie Sloan, Tony Spitfire, PN News was with us. On my very first tour, Tatanka was with us too. You had guys, who else was there? I have to think.
Was Dean Ormond around at the time?
I forgot his name. Not on my first tours. He occasionally came in for one shot. Joe Legend was there, who also has a good mind for the business. I've forgotten his name now. He's gonna hate me even more now that I forgot his name. I mentioned him on Kurt's podcast. I forget his name now. He's living in Scotland now. With Whiplash.
Oh, Mike Whiplash. Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, I remember sort of saying, like, the dude's professional, even if you butt heads, or if he doesn't like you or anything like that, dude, he'll always kind of get you over, and he does the job, and he's very professional.
There was also Robbie Dynamite, who's one of the strongest guys I knew back then. He always had a great body. So we had a really good team then, really, really good team, and you was so much you can learn from all those guys. And then my best friend who got me on there was Domino. He passed away years ago, but he got me. We got to know each other in France, and he got me on the camps and with Brian, and we did the loop and everything. And it's just a good crew, really good crew. Yeah. James Mason there, so
he sold it as like a total package, didn't he? Kind of like bring you over, bring Laurie over, bring Domino over. That was the pitch, wasn't it? To get you into the UK, kind of thing, was to get you all over as a package.
It was basically Domino and Mikey Whiplash back then who put a word in for us, because I had gone over for Brian once in 2008 and he wasn't impressed too much. I was still looking for my character back then, but then I fine-tuned it more in France, and then Domino and Mikey Whiplash went to Brian, and they were like, get the whole package. Get him, get his missus, get the music, get the whole thing. And yeah, it worked. Brian loved it. He kept using it.
It goes to show as well what a character, once you find what you're comfortable with, if you find that character that you connect with, how it helps you to get over, because you believe it more, so your work comes across better, you work smoother. So yeah, it goes to show how important a character can be for your mindset, I guess as well. You've got to buy into it to do the promos, to get the heel heat. You've got to believe what you're doing.
Well, a character always is an extension of yourself, basically. And I've always been good in being an asshole. So yeah, bit of an extension of myself.
Turn it up to 11. There you go.
I can be abrasive sometimes, but it's because I speak my mind, and as a heel, that's what you need to do. And just annoy the people to hell,
Or just flag off the local football team. That always works as well.
Yeah, well, when I came over, it was just the time of the World Cup or the Euro Cup, so that was easy picking. So that was very, very easily done then.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are an easy team to take the rip out of as a country, unfortunately. But I mean, you guys must be loving it. Belgium's sort of, I don't know if if you do follow football, if you're a football fan, but Belgium's
not at all
the top countries.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't understand. Where when Belgium was beating England in the World Cup, not once but twice, I'll rub it in twice. Not that I cared about football anything, but I just thought, like, why is no promoter using this to use me as a heel? I could get so much heat. But it's come to a point here in the UK where a lot of promoters are afraid to do that. They're like worried, oh, are we going to get backlash from our fans or this or that? And you can't think that way. If something works, if something gets heat, that means it's working. It means that guy's getting a reaction. In France, we got encouraged to get as much heat as possible. Piss the fans off as much as possible. They'll come back anyway. They'll want to drink your blood and all that. And here in the UK, it seemed like at one point it was a big no-no. No, always treat the fans with velvet gloves and all that and everything, because you can't get too much heat and all that. You got to be nice to them and everything. That's no fun as a heel,
That's not wrestling. I mean, if you go to a show as a fan, I want to go and I want to be worked. You know what I mean? I want the heel to be such a twat that I find myself, even though I know he's only doing it because he's a heel, I still generally despise the guy. I want to boo him legitimately. So start, say crap, slag off the football team, rub it in our faces that you beat us twice, kind of thing. You're going to get heat for that. Yeah, I can't understand the logic of that goes against the whole heel and face persona. At its core, wrestling is good versus bad. If the bad guy can't act, what do you do?
Well, I'm not going to slag off AEW, but it's kind of the same over there. You can't really be a heel because then the fans are going to complain on social media that, oh, he's not a nice guy, and it's a bit the same over here. It's a lot of the smart marks who actually get worked that way because they don't want to be offended. I never got that.
I'm the opposite. I want to offend me. You're a bad guy. Call me every name under the sun. Call me a beanie wearing twat but be legitimate about it. Be a heel. Be bad. Slag me off, and then I'll cheer and I'll pay money to see the good guy punch you in the face.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of what I'm trying to do now in ASWA, because there I just took the belt 2 weeks ago, and I've won it being dirty. I've defended it being dirty. So now I got a cage match coming up this Saturday, which is probably going to be me. So yeah, we're getting into this storyline that they're trying to get that belt off me, and I'm just there to piss the people off and trying to hang on to that belt as much as I can. So I have to come up with ways now to keep the belt on me.
Is the cage match the final match in the feud against this opponent? Because obviously that's the old school mentality. To blow a feud off, you had a cage.
No. No, not yet. This is against a random opponent because the cage is pulled up, and because there's no space because of the regulations and everything. There's no space to build it up and take it back down and everything. So they're just going to build the cage up, and every match will be in the cage, but every match will have stipulations. Like I know there's going to be probably a match where the cage is not to be used, otherwise you get disqualified. So that match has to be a clean-cut match in there. But nobody can fight on the outside because there's a cage around it. Yeah. So they're going to come up with different things. Every match is going to be different despite being in a cage.
Yeah, it's like Lethal TNA back in the day when they did the Lethal Lockdown pay-per-views. If you ever watched them, obviously every match is inside. The cage. So you have to try to spin it in different ways, different matches inside the cage, kind of thing. So I would be interested in that one where basically the cage isn't there. So if you throw anybody into the cage, you're disqualified. If you jump off the cage, it just feel like a huge temptation. You're like, no, you can't do it. You're like, I want to jump off the goddamn cage. Like, nope, you can't use it. Yeah. So that's interesting, man. I like that. Belts, you mentioned the world title there. Again, I know from your chat with Kurt, you're one of these guys. It's not a prop, man. It's an honor. A company puts the belt on you. They see you as worthy of that belt. Especially if it's the world title. They see you as somebody that will draw in the audience. Do you still have that mindset? I presume you still have the title.
Yeah, I'm just not always comfortable in calling a belt a world title immediately. To me, it has to become a world title.
Yes.
If you're somebody who, I'm just going to pick a random city. I don't mean a certain company, but let's say London, and you're the champion in London, but the belt never goes outside of London.
Yeah,
it's not a world title. No matter who holds it. It's the company's heavyweight belt or the main belt. And make it as prestigious as you want for that company. But if the belt doesn't travel to other countries, it's not a world title.
Yeah, that was
I've done it with a belt here in Lincoln. I took it to Canada and defended it over there. So technically, that was a world title. It's only been to another country and another continent, but to me, even then, it should still be more countries and more continents and everything to become a world title.
Yeah, no, I agree in that sense. I apologise. It's just forced rabbit to call a belt the world title. But Molly Spartan brought that up a few weeks ago. So apparently she got into a big hoo-ha with a company who wanted to call their title, their women's title, the world women's title. And she refused to refer to it as a world title kind of thing for that very same reason. Unless you're going to take it out and about, you're touring Europe with it or you go to Japan with it. It's a heavyweight title. So. Okay, I'll reword it then. Do you see having the heavyweight title that it's still an honor? Do you like? Yeah,
I'm basically the head guy of the company in that way, or whoever has the belt is the head man of the company, and that's where everybody looks to. You're basically the one that has to draw the crowds in. So if you fail at that as champion, you shouldn't have the belt basically. So you have to work hard to get those people in. There's too many companies who like their favorite wrestler as promoters and who just put the belt on them, but it doesn't mean anything for those guys. They're like, oh, I got another belt, and they don't do anything with it or do anything for it, So I take pride in it being a champion from a company. Like that means they trust me. So for me, I want to then put my trust in that company and help that company move up. So far, so good with ASWA. We had 2 weekends where the crowds were red hot. It was great to hear the fans scream again after being in front of just a camera. And they were really into it. They were red hot for it, everything. They didn't riot like they used to do back in the day, but I want to try to get them to the point where they still just want to kick me or hit me or whatever. So, but I'm getting bigger and bigger, so I don't think they want to risk that anymore.
Yeah, no, it'll take a pretty stupid person to kind of want us to square up to you, to be honest, dude. I mean, I'd quite happily stand on this side of the barrier and like point at you, but yeah, I won't whine it. I'd be like, no, I'm staying here. This is my safe zone. The big guy can't get me here. I'm behind the barrier. You mentioned before though, like people jumping the barriers, getting into the rings. You have to, kick somebody in the face. there's the unwritten rule, man. You don't jump the barrier. You don't. As soon as you get in the ring, as soon as you jump the barrier, they're fair game. I presume that's the logic. You've got to look out. You look out for each other. If you've got a fan coming at you, you don't know how crazy they are. You just take them down.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, especially back in France, because a lot of these small towns, you had farmers there. A lot of them just carry knives to peel apples and all that, because they're old school people, and it's just a common thing there. So you never know what they had on them. So the moment somebody sticks his head through the ropes, they're fair game. Jump the barricade, and some of the security or the referee can still stop them. But once they get past them and they jump in the ring, you take their head off as quickly as you can, because you never know what they carry with them. I mean, they could have a glass bottle, they could have anything.
Yeah. You just go like onto autopilot, then you see that your brain you go like, self-defense kind of, take the guy out, no questions asked.
Yeah. Well, I used to be a bouncer too, so it kind of comes natural that way.
So brain memory, he's like, take him down, sort of jobs are good. That's awesome, man. So as we've touched upon, as you said, shows have been back now for a couple of weeks where you are. The Global Bastard is obviously going away, fingers crossed. What's the next step in your journey, man? Where do you want to sort of be going from here on? Any promotions you want to be working with? Do you want to dip your toes into other things within the? Obviously, I know you did booking when you was in Belgium. Is that something you'd be interested in again over here? Would you be? What's the 12-month plan?
Well, I was a booker in Belgium and in France, two different companies. I really enjoyed that. Something I would like to do again. Not promoting myself, because I don't want to invest my hard-earned money in that and lose on it or anything. I would be interested in booking again. But my main goal is just keep on wrestling, go back to Canada once they open up there, get the tours going again. Potentially move over there, because I was looking into that, just to move over there, because there was so much work there before COVID that I could easily live over there, and it's such a beautiful country. I'm also looking into the States, because there's a few states that are really heating up, which I want to do. Plus, I just want to do a big road trip through the States. I've always been in love with America, and I never had the chance to actually go there, even on a holiday. But if I can combine it with wrestling, even better. I just want to get to the West. Maybe go back to Japan. It would be cool to go back there, because I've only been there once. That would be cool again, and just try and wrestle as much as possible. Any promoter that wants to hit me up, they can. I mean, now I'll work for everybody. There's nobody that can tell me like, oh, you can't work for him or you can't work for him. I work for everybody as long as they pay me. That's the thing. It's when somebody doesn't pay me a full-time wage, they can't tell me who I can't work for. So that's just what I want to do.
That's a big no-no, isn't it? Unless you can guarantee, you pay me enough money to pay my bills, pay my rent, X, Y, and Z, you can't dictate what I do. If you want to pay everything, that's fine.
That was the rule in France. You could only work for him in France. He let you work for other companies in Europe and in England, but in France you only worked for him, and which was fair play, because he paid us so good money. Of course, you did that for him. It was just a small requirement, and there was no questions asked. We just, don't work for anybody else in France. Promoters were contacting us in France, but we're like, no, I work for this guy, and that's it. He pays me way too much money to cancel that.
Well, again, it makes sense, man. If the person can pay you a full-time wage, then it's like you've got a full-time job. You don't need to be doing part-time jobs elsewhere. But if people are just giving you part-time job, then you want as much of them as you can do. Financially, you've got to look after you.
Yeah. Plus, you also have to look at the long haul. If you cancel one booking for a guy and you do 3 dates for someone, that's going to be it. Maybe just those 3 dates. They might not use you for the next couple of dates, but in the meantime, you lost your full-time gig with somebody. That's just not a wise decision.
No, it's stupid. Is what it is. So I mean, fingers crossed, man. Because if you can get yourself over to Canada and living over there, obviously, as a British wrestling fan, I don't want to see you leaving the Brit Rest, but more power to you, man. Obviously, we want what's best for you. You can get yourself over to Canada. It's next level. I'll become your new best friend as well, and I'll be tapping you up to see if I can come over. So I say I've always wanted to go to Canada. Just put me up somewhere.
The thing is, here in the UK, because I'm quite outspoken, I'm not the most liked on shows, so I don't get that much bookings anymore here. So I hope that's going to change a bit with the podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
But in Canada, I got open door invitation. Danny told me that, and he was like, "I'm always welcome. Every time he has a tour, I can just go like, yeah, I'm doing it, and I got a spot on it, and no questions asked." That's the cool thing about it.
That's cool.
Especially when we had the car crash together with Psychosis in there, they got us all a lot closer with each other. So yeah, I've got a place there when everything starts up. So.
Oh, that's well, yeah. I think a car crash would give you a mutual bonding moment. It's not something that any of you guys are going to forget. It's something that you all went through. So that's definitely what I would call a shared moment. Going through America, you kind of strike me as a Harley kind of guy. I can imagine you just on the open roads, coast to coast in America, going from show to show, to town. Yeah, on this big bad boy Harley type thing. Would that be the dream?
Oh, definitely. A Harley, definitely. And if not a Harley, an American muscle car. I used to own 2 American cars. So
right. This is where we could disagree. What muscle car?
The latest that I've seen, the Dodge Challengers look pretty cool, and the Chargers, they look pretty cool. Some of the Mustangs are cool. But I used to own a Pontiac Firebird, like the old Night Ride. But I had the newer model with the longer tip nose and everything, and the lights that went up and down. So I had that one, and that was heaven to drive in. I used to love that car until some twat backed up into it.
I can't imagine it being cheap to fix either because of the parts.
It was total. He'd never stopped. Just went just straight in the back of it. And luckily, I was in this big American car. Otherwise, it would have been really bad. But the big American car protected me. It absorbed all, and I got out safely. Yeah.
Well, you said Dodge Charger, so we're fine. Just to clarify, that was the right answer. But yeah, dude, it's been awesome. I won't keep you much longer, man. I've kept you for over an hour now. So yeah, do you want to plug anything? Your socials, anything?
Well, people can find me on Instagram, which is mostly Instagram is mostly gym and wrestling related, which is at BullDriver77. Twitter, I can be very controversial on sometimes, which is at the Bull Wrestler. And then I have a page on on Facebook, which is the Belgian Bull. And then my normal one is Robin Lekime, where I do not accept everyone. I check out the friend requests, and if something is dodgy on it, I don't accept it. So people, if they want to add me, they have to hit me up and should kind of tell me what they are or who they are and this and that. Because and for the rest, people can find me at the moment at ASWA Midlands, where I'm the champion. I'll be working for a company called IWA, which is starting up soon in July. And then I'll see what happens. Any promoter that wants a Belgian on the team that likes to piss people off, just hit me up.
Dude, well, I'll put the links on the show, on the episode as well. But yeah, I'll do what I can do to, spread it across social media. I don't have the followers that I used to do because stupid Twitter suspended my account, so I've lost like 2,000 people. But we'll get there. And yeah, mate, it's been absolute pleasure. I like the abrasive personality thing. I like people who talk, straight from the hip. I like it when people. I'd rather know where I stand with people than people sugarcoat shit around me, kind of thing. So that's fine for me. I will say thank you. I'll let you get going. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I've got Laurie on in a couple of weeks, so forewarner what to expect. And yeah, dude, have a great evening, and I look forward to seeing you in the ring. And obviously, all the success to you, man.
Just one more thing, because I used to work on the right and left, Maybe you can
Yes.
call this episode now working the left and
Work the
right.
I was going to say that when you mentioned it earlier about in France. I was like, oh crap, I hope I ain't got any European listeners. Otherwise, they're going to be like, what's he on about working the left side? It's work the right side.
Well,
So I'm going to have to try and edit it for.
I'll plug it, and there's some guys from Belgium who will listen. There's some guys from Holland who will listen. So you'll definitely have some people following from over there.
Awesome, thank you so much. But yeah, I'll see if I can put a little edit in, and we'll just call it work the left and right side for this episode.
Okay.
Dude, Robin, you've been a star. Thank you so much, dude.